I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Service Committee meeting of Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. The time is now 3 p.m. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there nothing sacred anymore?
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Romano adopts the agenda.
Support.
Motion and support. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the Joint Health and Human Service and Records and Public Safety Committee minutes dated August 16th, 2023?
So move, Perna.
Support Zinner.
Motion by Perna, support by Zinner.
Or
Please vote.
Sickle. Whoever.
At this time, I would like to open up public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation. For those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any of the items today on today's agenda, there will be a second opportunity at the end of the meeting. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, I will close public participation and move on to item 6, which is presentations. And can I get a motion to receive and file?
Support Zinner.
Motion and support. Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
Above average. How about you, Commissioner?
There you go.
My report is going to be brief because it's focused on the amended budget. This is the first one that I have been requested to do. I appreciate the board being willing to expedite this. Because of the unprecedented nature of us having to do this, it was all new to me. So I appreciate the cooperation that people had on this as we kind of moved through. Disappointed in kind of the heavy-handedness that occurred on it before, but in the interest of moving forward, I would like to in place to let you know that we have had a number of adjustments in our revenue because of increased census, also new. We have a new rate that is coming in that they're allowing us to begin. We'll have some money from that by the end of the year. But we also had a lot of additional costs. And so the budget that the budget amendment that you have in hand from Martha T. Berry really is self-explanatory. And I want to give the time for the commission to ask any questions they might want to have on that before they move on to the approval item. And again, thank you so much for expediting it. Our vendors in this community really need this. Our residents need some of this, and it has really been a challenge in communication with our supply chain because of something that could have been done, I believe, if we had actually worked together rather than being heavy-handed. But we are here now, and I'm grateful that, again, this commission has decided to expedite this so that we can get this done quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. There are a lot of, you can see that there's been a lot of work put into this, and things are broken up. So what I'm curious about is, did the $2 million that we sent to Martha T., is that in here? Was it broken up? Did you?
No, I was encouraged not to put it, the amendment in because it wasn't germane to this discussion. I don't know why that was the case, but I'm trying to be as helpful as possible to the people that are in discussion. I'd very much like to have it in. I'd like to be able to use it, but that was not the consensus at the last conversation that we had. So I left it out. I left it out of this budget amendment, yes.
Thank you, Kevin, for coming in. It's been a stressful period of time for all parties involved who love and support Martha T. Berry Hospital. All of us. We're united in that fact that we all want to make sure we take the best care of all the people of that facility and the employees who work there. So But I was expecting a report on the stats. I understand you got a rating increase. Is that true?
Yes,
I always like hearing the good stories going on about your monthly reports about the progress that you've been coming from a very low mark, moving it up the scale.
Yes.
And
well, I'd be happy to spend about 45 seconds on that, Mr.
well,
Chair. Be
I'd
happy
like to hear some more about, give the
Sure.
normal report that you normally give, and then have the budget discussion
Okay.
on a separate thing.
All right.
Because I think that's important that we carry on the good news that's been going on over
Right.
there, and I'd like to hear about it.
Unfortunately, the challenges that we've had with this has been really, time consuming. But we have had some great news, so thank you for that. Our census right now is some of the best in the state. We're currently at 208, I think, today with 2 residents in the hospital. That puts 210 souls that we have, which is, roughly, 97%. The state average right now is 85%. Which means that we are that safety net that the county needs and that the seniors need. We did get an estimate, and as a matter of fact, this budget shows the estimate from Plant Moran that included our rate increase. That's where a lot of the revenue came from. A rate increase from less than $380 to $402. We just got the letter that said our new rate is going to be $412. That's per resident per day. So that shows a significant increase. And this budget adjustment is for this year. We put our draft budget in early for the budget for 2024, and we're going to have to come back with an amendment on that because of the good news on that budget. In addition to that, we did receive notification that we're going to get another $200,000 roughly in a grant that we earned on that. The $6 million that I received for employee retention set us in great position to be able to do what we're doing right now. The reason that we're able to succeed is we were able to actually hire people. With that, we would not have been able to do that without the employee retention credit that we received. But what we were able to do is actually buy supplies and actually hire staff that other people were not able to. And I've told you the stories before, and they continue on. I just recently met one of our new orientees that when we explained what we're doing at our facility, and I said, you'll be taking care of somewhere around 8 or 9 people. They said, are you kidding? We started at 18 at the other facility. Another one said, we took care of 30 with one nurse. It was just one nurse and me for 30 people. So it's bad all over, but because we had that $6 million, we were able to position ourselves, we were able to get our census up, which again is where our revenue actually comes from. So we were happy to have that as a stopgap. Our quality measures still are solid at 4-star across the board. As you recall, in 2016 when I first got here, the only thing that we were in good shape on was staffing levels. Everything else was 1 star. I'm really pleased to say that we still hold that position. We are a provider of choice right now at Henry Ford Health System, which we didn't have the luxury of before, but we had to maintain a higher status and star rating to be able to do that. We also see that we are an employee of choice across the board now because we're getting our nutrition services, our environmental services people in place where we couldn't get them before. But because we couldn't afford to hire them, we still have a number of positions frozen, but most of those frozen positions are at the management level, not at the line level. That's allowing us to afford more care directly at bedside. So I guess that took more than 45 seconds, Mr. Chair, but
fine. There's
I'm
a
pretty
lot-
excited about what we're
There's a
doing
lot
here.
to say.
Yeah.
What is remind me again, or remind the board of what the capacity of how many clients you can host?
Yes, we can serve up to 217 souls at one time at our facility. We have a capacity of 24 others at the adult day caring center. We actually partner with the county on that, which I don't know if everybody's aware of. Goldenberry Adult Day Caring Center is a Macomb Community Action Project, and they contract the staff. We manage it for them. So it's their program, but they hire us to take care of the day-to-day operations on it. So another 24 souls there.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other speakers, can we please vote? All right, and we will move on to department recommendations, and we're going to start with item A, which is a budget amendment for Martha T. Berry Medical Facility, and the adjustment to reflect actual revenues and expenses in the amount of $8,924,779. Mr. Evans?
Chair, I'll make a motion.
Oh, yeah, motion, thank you. Motion and support?
Well, as I mentioned a little bit ago, many of the things that we had here are increases based on our increased census. Prior to this, we put together a management budget. What that means is, as an enterprise budget, we're looking at best case scenario with an expectation that we run over on budget items. I've been doing that for seven plus years at this facility. And the expectation is that we use that as an analysis tool to say, okay, how can we streamline this? And so when we put a best case or a perfect case scenario budget together, we expect to be in good shape on some things and be a little bit over on others. And we've managed that for 7 years. This is the first time we put an appropriations budget together to say this is what we expect, at the top end to spend without going over. And we need to do that because we cannot have any of the bottlenecks to care for service. It's also one of the reasons why an enterprise budget makes more sense than a special revenue fund is how we're being coded right now. We're not going to talk about that right now. Right now I want to focus on any questions that anybody might have, so you feel comfortable with this budget amendment, so that we have the ability to pass it. And again, I want to thank the commissioners for doing this, requesting it go to full board for quick approval, so we can get that done. Thank you.
So really quick, I know that Commissioner Zinner brought up about the 2 million. So my question's actually going to be for Commissioner Brown, because maybe he can answer this for me, because he's up to speak next. How would we go about putting that 2 million into their budget so they can use it? Because I see on their budget that they are planning on doing the HVAC system. So at that time, or at least, how would we move forward with doing that, I guess would be one of my questions.
We'll have to
Commissioner Brown?
consult with council on that to see how, because the agreements we have in place prohibit us from sending general fund dollars to Martha T. Berry directly as we normally would, as if they were another county department. But because of the unique setup that we have now with Martha T. Berry, we have to have an amendment to the agreement to do that.
Okay.
At least that's my understanding of it, and we'll consult with council and.
Yeah, because I know when we discussed it recently, it seemed like we didn't really need to do an amendment. So yeah, I would like to get that clarified too, so we can move forward with that, so we can give them that money for that HVAC system.
Well, there's been some back and forth on that, so we'll discuss that and bring that forward, because it was the wishes of this board to give them that $2 million at the time and to take care of a problem. They received money since then, but still the board wishes still speak for themselves in the action we took prior, so
Right, and-
we'll bring that forward to your committee with the right information so that we can all just collectively decide if that's still the wishes of the board.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, especially if we could get it on next month's agenda, because we're almost to the end of the year, and I'd like to get that money in there, for them to be able to use as soon as possible. So is there anything else for Commissioner Brown?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Kevin, again. For the benefit of the commissioners, they might take some comfort to know that you're operating under a wrong assumption that an enterprise budget was how you're supposed to characterize things, and not operate under the current standards that we operate under an appropriation budget. You made this budget amendment with close contact with our county finance department, Steve Schmiegel. Is that right?
That is correct. I did
Yeah,
make that
so-
with his, because I'd never had one before. I was never required to have one before,
Yeah,
because
so-
I have functioned for 7 years as an enterprise budget. And it actually speaks to that we're an enterprise budget in the budget itself, and in our audited funds, our audit comes across as an enterprise budget. But because we're coded as a special revenue fund, Attorney Frank Creasy explained it does not matter. Well, it does matter because our joint operating agreement needs to get cleaned up because it's not in agreement with the UBAA. However, I'm comfortable with this right now because we need to act where we're at.
The
And
reason I'm bringing this up is to give commissioners comfort that our county finance department has worked with you to make sure that to bring the books up to county standards that we expect. And that was part of the problem that caused us all this conundrum, was the fact that you were assuming something and we assumed that you knew how we operate, and there was the disconnect. But now that's in the past. our finance has worked with you to show you the right way to do things as we expect as the Board of Commissioners, which you are a function of the creation of the Board of Commissioners to operate. So I think we can all take comfort in the fact that this budget amendment brought forward was done under the watchful eye of our county finance department. And I'll leave it at that for now. So I just wanted to get that out there so everyone understands the baseline is clear. There's no, it was done under the watchful authority of our county finance department, that it was done to their specs, to their standards, and it's here before us. So
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Kraft?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It sounds like there's a lot of confusion going on because we appropriated $2 million to hit in January and it's September and you still don't have it. So I guess that's something that's different and new to me after I've been here for 6.5 years. So Kevin, I understand your pain and your frustration. But when it comes to approving this today, does that mean that you will be able to pay your vendors tomorrow?
It is my hope. There were some interesting requirements coming from the Treasurer's Department that we're going to be working through, but we're going to give them what they want because essentially we're, well,
Sorry, Kevin, I didn't mean to ask a tough question. I just want to
no,
make sure our
I
folks
don't
are-
mind tough questions. I just want to make sure that our vendors in this community get paid without any more negativity happening. And
And I
I
want our
told
folks-
I told my team when under duress I was required to change a report from the treasurer's office that I knew that this day would come and that I would have to bear the responsibility of this. So
And I just want our vendors paid as quickly as possible so our folks can get the care and medications that they need as quickly as possible. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
yeah, and my hope is that they stop. Just so you know, they stopped paying everything. All right, just so the commissioner know, they stopped paying everything, not just the items that we were over budget on. They stopped paying everything until this amendment was pushed through. So that's why I'm grateful that you've sped up the process. Because I have a guardianship that's waiting. We had to do a workaround with a vendor that does our PIC line systems. All right. This is healthcare we're working on, not politics. And I just said more than I wanted to say. So, so we are functioning now as, okay, a special revenue fund. Okay, that's a given. Anybody who wants to say that we did it wrong before, if they want to blame me, that's fine. All right. I have functioned as an enterprise fund for 7.5 years. It happened this year because I got $6 million in, and you guys gave me $2 million for the building, not for operations, but for the building. All right. That there was some confusion on it, and I understand that there's some people, not everybody in this room, but some people said that I was doing a bad job because of lack of communication. I will say that there was lack of communication. But that's not what we're here for. Right now, I want to focus on getting this done. And if it means that I'm the bad guy, that I was the one that wasn't doing the job, please blame me, but don't take it out on my staff who are trying to get this job done, taking care of seniors. Please, just let's focus today on getting this done, and let's not bring all the other politics in it. I'm working under the function of a special revenue fund right now, and this budget amendment was done by Steve Schmiegel. It was written in a way in a way that you could see clearly where our increases are and where the revenue sources are coming from at the bottom. And for those of you that might wonder where'd the $6 million go, you'll see it coming out of the fund balance. So the areas where we say it came out of fund balance, you'll see that that was where that came from, because that was money that actually came in last year, didn't come in this year.
Couple more questions real quick, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, Kevin. Is your budget calendar year or fiscal?
Calendar.
Okay, so for the next few months, are you going to be set with this budget amendment? Is this going to
That
take?
was my intent, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you to your team. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Ha?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Kevin, I appreciate all that you're saying about the budget issue and that we weren't going to get into all of the other issues. However, you just sat here and raised Frank Creech's name and the treasurer's office, and you were saying it was almost a bullying tactic. So now I'm gonna ask Frank to come up and tell us why we're in the situation we're in today.
I just told you, but feel
Well,
free.
you've given us your side of the story. Now I want to hear from the administration side. Because there's always two sides to every story.
Thank you, Commissioner. One of our functions is to overview compliance with the law from the county and its agencies. One of the cardinal rules of budgeting is that the county cannot spend a dime over the appropriated amount in the budget. This board passes the budget for Martha T. Berry. That's unquestionable. They have sent their budget to you. You approved it. The treasurer found out that Martha T. Berry exceeded its line item appropriations for capital outlays and vendors by over several hundred $100,000. That's illegal. That's mismanagement. So when I see something that's not legal, the treasurer was advised that he cannot approve. And what normally happens is this doesn't happen because the departments come to this board monthly to ask for budget adjustments to avoid this situation. That's proper management. Improper management is going in debt, going over your budget by several $100,000 and acting like nothing happens. No government agency can operate like that in Michigan. Okay?
All right, thank you. You have more? I'm sorry.
No, I have more.
Okay.
So, we were accused, and I don't know if the board's familiar with this, but basically letters were sent to vendors saying that the treasurer is responsible for this problem. The treasurer is an elected official by the county. One of his duties, it would be illegal for him to approve a payment that is in excess of the appropriation. He is being accused of being a bully for enforcing the law, which he's required to do. He could be prosecuted if he approved these payments. And you have to remember, there's a human service board that approved these payments. So that's the situation we were in before this happened. So when I hear this continuing on, and all the treasurer is asking for is that when the Human Service Board requests a payment, they show how that payment fits within their budgeted appropriations. That's all. That's not bullying. That's complying with the law and doing what every other department does. And they're saying they can't do that. It's too difficult. Well, it's not. And they should be able to do that. So if they had the appropriation and they had a vendor request within the appropriation, it would be approved, no question. But that's not what was happening here for a long time. It needs to come to an end. I'm glad to see they came here, but it doesn't sound like they've accepted that they're responsible and that they're going to comply with the law. And we're concerned about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wait, Joe, I want to hear the treasurer's side of this. You're still with the treasurer, right?
Commissioner, I'm actually with the prosecutor's office.
I
I
knew
came
that,
here
Joe.
to simply observe, but Prosecutor Lucido knows I'm here because of my prior involvement on this issue with the treasurer's office. And so I really have nothing further to add other than what Mr. Creasy said.
So you were withholding payments, is that correct?
That's correct, because of the refusal to comply with basic information requests of these payment requests. Where do they fit with your budget? Where are you pulling the money from? They should be doing that before they send the payment request over to the treasurer's office. This idea that somehow it's too much work for them to do doesn't make any sense.
Okay, for me, in conclusion, I want to agree with the chairman here. We need to get this approved, we need to get everybody paid, and then we need to hold the committee meeting to not only understand how we move forward, what's transpired in the past. So I support what the chairman has said 100%.
Thank you, Commissioner Haw. Yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm happy that we're finally like taking care of all of this and getting it resolved so we are in court, you know, following the state laws. So I do appreciate that, and I appreciate Mr. Evans' time working with our treasurers to make sure he could bring this budget amendment, you know, to us. Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. I was not aware. Did you say, Kevin, that care was withheld?
No, it made it difficult for us. Our team is an outstanding group of people, but we've had to make a lot of adjustments as the payments were withheld, and we're spending a lot of time explaining to vendors what's happening. So remember, the focus wasn't that it was too hard to do. It was the difference between an appropriations budget and an enterprise budget. And we'll go over the details of that in there. But also just want to remind you that the Board of Human Services actually on your behalf runs the facilities, and they on a monthly basis are looking at those numbers and are approving those expenses. They understand fully well where the money's coming from, and they're doing that on your behalf. I also understand that this brought to light that there was a lot of information that you don't know. You know, this is the first place I've been where there actually isn't a commissioner as the liaison at our facility. We do work every month at our board meetings. So if we had actually a liaison that was a commissioner at our meetings, you could see all the work that we do, all the conversations that we have, and the authority that's given the responsibility of the budget to manage on your behalf. The Board of Human Services, not the treasurer, but the Board of Human Services makes those approvals. So good news is I'm fully in compliance, and I'm also wrong because we're currently coded as the Special Revenue Fund. So because we have that mix up in information, we were trying to work through it. But that's where I said, instead of working through it, they just stopped payment. By the way, they did it before we were over budget. They did it because they wanted to change a form too. So there's a habit of, you know, when your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, you know, and I've been hammered. So there's no doubt about it. So, but here I am, I'm functioning, and I think what Frank forgot is I said, remember, I am functioning now as a special revenue fund. He said that I don't get that, I'm not owning it. I just owned it before he came up. Do y'all remember that? I said, we are now functioning as a special revenue fund because Frank brought it to my attention in that way. All right? So that's good news, isn't it? All right? But the biggest issue is communication with this county commission, right? One of the biggest concerns that you had is we didn't know about the $6 million. Frankly, I was surprised you didn't know about it because the liaison was fully aware of it. I understood through communication with Don and through others and through Commissioner Haw that you weren't made aware of it, okay? I have to communicate better here. I get that, but I thought I communicated in the way that the liaison had, all right? But that's the crux of all that started. That being said, let's get back to what we need to do and let's take care of our residents. I am functioning as a special revenue fund. We'll have the deeper conversations in the subcommittee meetings where we can look at the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act from my perspective as well as from the treasurer's responsibility. We can have all of our attorneys come in and not just a one-sided and heavier-handed approach that I think we don't need.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano?
Thank you, Chair. You know, I'm listening to our chair speak. I've listened to our Commissioner Harold Hall speak, Mr. Cretia speak. I've listened to Kevin speak. This reminds me of a scab that people keep picking at, all right? Let's let this thing heal, and we got to move forward, guys. If you were two guys standing together, there's a contest that we used to call that. We don't need this, all right? Let's move forward on this. You need the money. We've got the money. Let's get it to them. Let's get it to the vendors. Let's let Martha T. Berry heal again and move forward. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano. Seeing no other speakers, can we please vote? Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you. Commissioners, thank you so much. I look forward to meeting.
Moving on to item B, which is a budget
Wait,
amendment.
what was the vote?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you, Chair.
Moving on to item B, which is a budget amendment for Community Action Edison Crossing Housing Project in the amount of $150,000 and $5. Mr. Scott is here. Can I please get a motion to recommend?
Support Wallace.
Damn, you guys.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you all this afternoon? Just to provide a little bit of background on where this amendment is coming from, I believe many of you are familiar with the Edison Crossing development coming up here in Mount Clemens. It is a 30-unit low-income housing development. 11 of those units will specifically be reserved for those who are determined chronically homeless. The development company, Woda Cooper, has approached us to contract with them to provide a part-time staff person to be on site and help coordinate additional social services. So those residents who are at the facility, in particular those 11 who are going to be served by the housing units reserved for the homeless, we will have a staff person there to be able to further connect them to community action services as well as other county services that might be available. The $150,005 represents new revenue through that contract, and that should allow us to provide that staffing for approximately 3 years, at which time there'll be a new arrangement with more funding to continue that partnership.
Thank you very much, and I really look forward to this project. I think it's a great project that you guys are doing over there. Thank you. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you. Is there an average age of the people there? Their families or single people pretty much, or?
So to my knowledge, there is not an age requirement. I do know that the goal is to provide preferential treatment to veterans and specifically people who are deemed low income by falling below, I believe it's 30% or within 60% of the average median income.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Wallace.
I just wanted to say, one, I'm really, really excited about this project. There was a lot of back and forth in the community about who would be able to live in the housing, and some people were not happy. But I think that this is a great way to just have housing for everyone and not confine people to certain areas of Mount Clemens like it has been in the past. I think this is a great move for the city, and I'm really glad that the developers and your team are working together to make sure we have staff in there. But I'm excited. I think that this is going to be great, and I would hope that any information you find, you please continue to let us know. But I'll be peeking my nose into it as well. So,
Absolutely.
but thank you so much.
Thank you for your support.
Seeing no other speakers,
Alternate voting yes.
will you please vote?
Good project.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item C, which is a budget amendment to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation Capital Projects Fund in the amount of $25 million. And we have our Director of,
Motion to
motion
refer
to
to full
move to
board.
full board.
Support Nard.
Thank you. Hi, how are you today?
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Chair. This first item, we're really excited about this. Being fortunate enough, anytime you get 25 million, that's a big deal. So we're really enthused with utilizing these funds that we were able to get from the state, very generous of the state. A lot of work went into this to go into our capital project funds. So this is going to kick off, which we already have started to look at, what does health and community services look like across the board. We've talked about the need for centralized, more efficient services, and that starts with a building that has those services co-located within that. We've done a lot at the Verkeulen building, and we really want to look at what does that look like in the future to provide a space that's really proud of, our staff can be proud of, and our residents, when they come in for services, that they get state-of-the-art services when they go to that building. But this will help us look at, county-wide, across the board, what does health and community services look like? So what we're going to start doing is, the first step is to look at architectural drawings and plans There's a budget in Exhibit A of the documents that you'll see. 4 million is right now currently budgeted for architecture, design, and plans. We were working with Plant Moran Cressa, kind of doing needs assessment through the departments that fall underneath Health and Community Services as well as Veteran Services, and really looking at how does that look like going into the future. So we like to continue that. That's going to be the first step, is going out for a bid to do the architectural plans. The majority of the money is going to sit in capital, obviously, for that building cost down the road. So this would be a significant investment, but I think hopefully you'll see that it's well needed. We need to improve our infrastructure in terms of health and community services. We are in buildings currently that have HVAC problems that are really essentially a few parts away from going out if you talk about the health department building. So we really need to start looking at providing solutions. So I think this is the first step. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Andrew, I just wanted to make you aware that Commissioner Romano thought that was a misprint. There were too many zeros there.
It's a lot of zeros.
Thank you,
right?
Chair.
A lot of zeros.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. So it's not just a focus on the Verculen building, then you're also, but as I understand from reading the backup, that you are gonna go across the county and look at the infrastructure needs of all of our health buildings down in Southland Warren. That building's an old building down there, and there's other spots as well, then, correct?
Correct. And that current building in Warren, the lease runs out or reverts back to the owner 2026. So we need to make a decision sooner than later, about our presence in the southern end as well for services.
Are we responsible for the structural, are we liable for any structural work that we've done in there since we've been in there?
For the Warren site?
Yes.
We've done some improvements, and we have put county dollars in. For example, we had a dental clinic in there, MCDC. Unfortunately, they moved out.
So we might be negotiating a lease for another location or renegotiate that one.
Yeah, I think
It's a busy
everything's on the
center down
table
there
right
from
now.
what I understand, and gets a lot of activity. And then Verculen, I mean, there was talk about, a grand plan of remodeling. Well, we're not just remodel what we've got over there, right? We've got to stay within the existing walls we have.
Yeah, I think we're going to see where I think that's so important for the plans. What does it look like, in terms of retrofitting the Verculen building and doing updates to that building, not only from a physical, but from a technological IT standpoint too. That's a significant cost to update some of the needs that now we know is common, whether it be conference rooms and, projector screens, that type of meeting space. But also, enough drops, enough plugs. That building, is a great building. It's got a lot of history to it, but we need to bring it up to really code and frankly, into modern times.
Yeah, the work environment's changed since it was first developed, and so this is all gonna help to go towards that end, and this is only a 50% match, so there's the other 25 million that's coming out of our general fund or out
No
of the
match
building.
here, no match for this.
Well,
We have budgeted based off of potential plans, the whole project is estimated at 70 million.
Yeah, okay, I was
plus.
looking at the other numbers on the other side of the chart, the grant versus actual, so
Right.
that's what misled me. Very good, thank you, Madam Chairwoman, appreciate it.
No problem. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andrew, I was excited to see the no matching funds part when I was scrolling through. I was very excited about that because that is a large dollar amount. So with that dollar amount, though, is there a deadline that we have to use these funds by? Are there specific parameters that we have to use this on? Is it really tight? Is it a little more broad? Can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Parameters are pretty loose. We put together a pretty generalized, we want to utilize these funds for infrastructure for health and community services with the cornerstones of MCA, Health Department, Office of Senior Services, Community Mental Health, Veteran Services. Really the big one is the deadline, and they want us to expend these funds by 2025. So not a lot of time, but I think enough to do what we need to do.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Good afternoon.
The architect wants 16% of the funds?
That is just budgeted. We have not put it out for RFP, but we wanted to have a placeholder for that. I hope it's less than that.
Hope springs eternal.
But I think also trying to be transparent with not, with our budgeting and being prepared for what that cost is. Based off of previous planning efforts, that's what was recommended that we have in that spot. So that's how I got that number.
I think that's way too high. What do architects, you probably don't know what architectural fees usually run of a project.
That is not my expertise, Commissioner.
Yeah.
I can tell you about health stuff all the time, but that one I'm not an expert in.
And I won't even accuse you of dodging the question. I think they're closer to 5 or 10%. So I think 16% is pretty high, and to put it in the budget that way gives the architect a goal to shoot for, if you will.
Right. That is, obviously a concern. We wouldn't put that in the RFP that, hey, please bid on this project. You have $4 million to spend. But obviously this is public knowledge and public, information.
Yeah, our records are public, so I don't know. I have a real problem with that much of the project going for just the architect. I'd rather put it in the brick and mortar and the other resources.
Gotcha. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Commissioner Zong.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also very excited about this $25 million, and certainly, huge thanks to our state legislators for working hard to bring this money back to Macomb County. I think this amount was overshadowed by the $40 million that we got for the jail. But Andrew, can you talk a little bit about the process of how we were awarded this, and what else can we do to advocate and make sure that this money is coming back to our communities?
Yeah, several meetings with state legislators on appropriations, using our ability to really justify the need and the cost was how we approached this. And I think we tried our best to advocate when we have our opportunities in Lansing. And so that's how, this was accomplished through those meetings and relationships. And I think, frankly, the job we do here in Macomb County, very proud of that. And I think we get recognized for the work we do. So I think this is that recognition coming back to Macomb County. So I agree with you. I'm very excited about this.
Very good. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Kraft.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Andrew, sorry, one more question. This may be a Steve question, but I'm going to ask you anyway because you're here. In our capital outlay plan, the capital improvement plan in our budget, is this in there? Is this labeled as the Verculen building demolish and rebuild, or is this something totally different?
Good question. I'm not sure on that
Okay.
one. We'll get back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, can we please vote?
Motion passes 11-1. Commissioner Vancicle voting no.
Moving on to item D, a budget amendment from the Health and Community Service, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, in the amount of $175,000. Motion to recommend to full board.
So moved by Nard. Support Wallace.
Thank you. All right, you're on.
Thanks.
Again.
Thank you, Chair. And I think this is a perfect segue to the great presentation we just had by Ed Scott for community action for Edison Crossing Housing Project. This specifically, the state came out with a statewide regional housing plan. This is year 2 of 5 of that plan. They created 14 regions. One of those regions is our county, Macomb. So Macomb is its own region. Through initial planning meetings, through MSHDA, one of the items that they wanted to do as the state is promote a regional housing plan lead agency. We felt by attending that meeting, really wanted to stress affordable housing within Macomb County and how this has to be a priority. So we stepped up and we took on as the lead as this project. So we are the lead, Macomb County Health and Community Services is the lead agency for this regional housing plan. We've already started to work and do some work. We are inviting multiple agency representatives to represent the community. And I'd be happy to provide that membership list so far. We'd love to have your support with getting more agencies on that list to be more inclusive and encompassing of everyone we can. We are in the middle right now of formulating a plan with the group. We formed a task force, over 50 different individuals and agencies represented on that task force. We have been meeting almost weekly, if not more, with a steering committee and regional representatives from MSHDA that attend our meetings as well. We have a draft. Our final plan is due at the end of September that we're working on. Very hard to get that tight deadline, because we've had 3 months to kind of put all this together. But to help us do that, MSHDA has granted the lead agencies $175,000, which is what I'm hoping that you will approve of. This money will hopefully help us with professional service and staffing support for planning, really is what this money is intended for. This would be an individual that will help, coordinate meetings and put together the plan, also carry out, more importantly, after the plan, public involvement, town halls, different kinds of engagement with the community. That it just takes a lot of time and a lot of logistics that we need support within Health and Community Services. So at this point, we don't know after the plan is due. We hear that there will be additional money for housing coming. We just don't know how much and when yet that's coming from the state.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. Andrew, first, just an organizational question. Why are you presenting this? Why is this task coming under your department rather than planning economic development? It seems like a more appropriate plan for them, since they interact with county planners and all of that.
They are part of the planning process. They're not here today co-presenting, but they are a part of our steering committee. They have a lot of, their housing needs survey is going on right now. One of our areas that we really want to tackle is zoning and zoning education for communities. That's a huge topic that we want to try to educate and provide best practices on. And they're right there at the table. We're actually presenting at Macomb Partners, which is a planning and economic development event. So we're going to present this as well. I think why it fits within Health and Community Services is because we have Community Action, we have MSU Extension, we have Office of Senior Services for senior needs. All those departments, fall under my department, and so I think that's where the decision was made, that it fits also nicely within HCS.
That's a good point. There are a lot of partners involved in your agency, so that probably does make sense. Thanks for explaining that. One of the challenges I see with this is that it's going against local control, right? I mean, this project is going to try to lead by example, right? I heard a lot of education in there about we're going to educate them on zoning practice, best practices, but in the end, we can't do anything with housing unless the Mount Clemens School Board or the Mount Clemens, Planning Commission or the City of Warren or Washington Township agrees to do something, right? I mean, again, and hoping for money from the state for housing. I mean, there's no county land that we're going to build houses on that or try to. So it's a complicated issue, and I don't understand all that's going on. So I'm going to learn about it, but I'm just thinking that those things are popping in my mind about that because, local control is pretty hard. It's hard to get things. We've long talked about in this county about having unified zoning practices, having it easier for major developers like Amazon or Ford Motor Company. Somebody wants to redevelop property to do so, but every community's got different rules and there are challenges, but that's the way we're set up in this state and that's the way we've grown up. So
it's not easy, or it would have been done already, right, Commissioner? So I think the point is well taken, and I think I've always been one to arm people with best practice and tools for those municipalities to educate at meetings, and we'd be happy to, the plan is to get out in the community and educate about this as well. I hope that funding will be available too. That's a strong motivator for people too, in incentivizing potentially development that we need for truly affordable housing in this county. So it's not gonna be easy, and I'm not gonna promise you that we're gonna be able to get every single thing, but I think it's needed action in this area that we have to look at.
Well, I think you can get the commissioners' engagement in this, because I mean, affordable housing and housing generally there's a crisis across the country, and we recognize that. And if we can give some ideas how communities can redevelop in their own communities, there's a lot of creativity out there that are probably gonna come forward on it, and so I'm not disparaging, I'm just pointing out the challenges. As someone who's involved in land use planning in this county with the farmland open space preservation issues, we run around the counties trying to get people's interested in that, and, you know, some came and some didn't, right? So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Can you provide us a list of partners or those?
Absolutely.
Partners? That'd be interesting for all of us to have, and, you know, but I encourage you the commissioners as well as you to reach out to the commissioners in areas where you're focused on, because we've got local understanding that maybe you up the food chain maybe necessarily don't have.
Absolutely.
And they want to help or if they're given the opportunity. So, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Commissioner Wallace, you withdrew.
I was just gonna ask for the list.
Okay. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's very interesting listening to you two gentlemen, and I think it's very logical what you're saying. But in Macomb County, we like our autonomy. As inconvenient as it is, that's kind of who we are. But we don't really want to see people, who really need help. We don't want to see it. We want them taken care of. But also we need our economy moving and people working so that our business structure is working. That's what we need to keep everything flourishing. Everything has to keep moving. And that's really a key factor also. Thank you very much for what you were explaining.
Thank you, Commissioner
Chair.
Zinner. All right, seeing no other speakers, can we please vote?
Motion passes 12-0.
All right, we'll move on to item E, which is a budget amendment for the Health and Community Service budget for $93,000.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Motion to
Commissioner.
move to full board?
Oh,
Support.
yes. Go on.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. This is my last item up today to try to get you out of here. It's a ask for us to reallocate 93,000 of our personnel expenses between Health and Community Services to capital outlay project. Specifically, what we want to use these funds for is the Verkulen building has a very old, outdated cafeteria. At one point, it was in operation, very nice, but it has not been in operation for years now. We, with our joining of MCA over at that building and Health Department and now Health and Community Services, space for meeting spaces is at a premium. We often have to try to find different space now, whether it be through, competing Head Start or Elder Abuse Task Force, or now with this Regional Housing Plan initiative, we have more and more activities at that building going. Not even to mention Laura Rios with the Veteran Services always needing for tax time space as well. Our goal is to repurpose that cafeteria into a conference room and to bring that up to speed with technology, drops in that building. There's some old kitchen countertops, sorry about that, countertops in that cafeteria that have to be removed. So some of this is demo cost as well. There's no Wi-Fi in that space, so some extenders need to be installed as well. So that's one part of this. The other part is in the atrium, the central area, to build out some conference room space as well, to really try to retransform that space to make it as usable as possible for all the departments that are over there. So that is where these funds are going to be expended over at the Verkulen building.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you. Andrew, I may have missed this. Did you say the cafeteria is in service or has not been in service for a while?
It has not been in service for, I believe, several years. I know well before COVID, I think it shut down.
So there's no cafeteria or food area at all in that building?
So there's a cafeteria break area within the main space, if you're familiar with vaccination area. Back behind the staffing area, there's a cafeteria break room. There is other smaller break rooms throughout the building that hold a much smaller amount. So I believe the departments utilize that, or they go outside when the weather's nice, obviously. But that cafeteria is really not utilized at all by employees for breaks.
Okay, so people do have a place to go on site without driving someplace.
It's a great question, because I think that's very important that we provide our staff that break area, a place for rest and so they can be refreshed. So yes, we have that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Commissioner Wallace?
This really has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Andrew, I just wanted to thank you for having your team show up to the Back to School Bash for Mount Clemens, giving vaccinations and just being there to answer questions. They were great. People were coming up to them, they smiling faces, really welcoming. So I hope that, the people in the community could see, like, this is what you get when you come to the health department as well. So great turnout. Thank you so much for being supportive in that area.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Seeing no other speakers, can we please vote? Thank you very much for your time today and all these exciting projects.
There are a lot. There's a lot
And
going
in
on.
letting us know we got $25 million, which is always nice. That's the kind of stuff we'd like to hear at every meeting.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Commissioner Ha, you have something to
No,
say?
that was the wrong button hit. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to public participation. Anyone who wishes to speak at this time? Hello again.
Hello, Edward Scott with Macomb Community Action. One point that it slipped my mind to mention when I was up here earlier, there is going to be a grand opening event for the Edison Crossing development on November the 9th. That is being planned by the developer, not by us, but I'm anticipating a large event with a media presence. This is a great partnership between the developer and Macomb County, and we would love to have as many representatives of Macomb County at the event. That's going to take, I'm sorry.
Do you know what time the event is?
So I do not have a time.
Okay.
I just have, right now I have the date and the address. It'll be on site at the event. I will absolutely get that to you.
Perfect, thank you.
As soon as we know it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to close public participation because I don't see anyone else and move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know I spoke a lot today. But I was thumbing through my budget book today a few times, as some of you have noticed. But I've noticed we have a recommended budget book. We still don't have our adopted budget book. It is mid-September. I don't know what's going to happen first. Martha T. Berry's going to get the $2 million, or we're going to get our adopted budget book. So I would ask whoever I need to ask that we have that booklet in hand, because it is extremely helpful as I'm sitting up here before the next budget cycle begins. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Nard.
First of all, I want to thank this board for being very welcoming and respectful towards one another. I really appreciate that, because this is my second term as a commissioner, and I've not really been respected the way that I am here. And I love the way that we conduct our meetings, and I wish that other municipalities that I visited would conduct their meetings that way. That's one thing. The other thing is, I hear a lot of projects, being done, and I hear, I know we want people housed. We don't want, unhoused people around and things like that. But what I'm noticing I do not hear is anything being erected for training. I know when I was in school, we had what's called Skill Center, and the kids learn skills. Going forward into the future, we have jobs that have not that we didn't have before. And I'm wondering, when are we going to erect a building so we can train people to work and have a job so that we don't have to keep housing people? And this way, if we get them working and get them trained, then we got somebody that can buy a house. And that would help every municipality with their tax problem. You know, it's really hard. I don't have anything against housing. I've had to have public housing before, but I moved on beyond that, you know, and worked. And I just want us to start in our municipalities getting young people with the mindset to have their own, to purchase. Detroit used to have 80% homeowners, and now it's 50% renters and 50% homeowners. So their base has left. And I just want for Macomb County, especially Warren, for people to start learning how to take care of themselves and not so much depend on the government. I'm reminded of John F. Kennedy that said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? And I think we need to get back to that and start teaching our young people to say what I want to do for my community, instead of just always having us spend money housing them, feeding them, clothing them, and without teaching them how to house and clothe and feed themselves. And I just want us to get back to that with some of these buildings that we're erecting. I don't think that should be a hard thing to do. I know going forward, that's what I'm going to be doing, is looking for ways to get our new generation to be able to go out and work and to be able to capture these new jobs that are coming, because other countries are doing it with their kids. I know China has said by the time their kids are 11 years old, that guy said he wants his kids to know how to run major corporations at 11. So, and our kids know how to run TikTok and run into walls and jump off boxes and bust their faces open. And it's just, you know, I don't want that. I want to see better. I've been riding around and I've been watching kids out. They don't know what they want to do. They don't have any goals. And then when they get 18 or they get 23 or 25 or 30, now we have to house them and we have to build more houses for them. So I just want us to kind of move beyond that and start teaching our young people to take care of themselves. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Nard. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'll personally invite you to a Roseville City Council meeting if that's what you're looking for. We had our actuarial report this past month on the retirement system and the retirement healthcare system. I'm proud to report we are in the top 1% of all counties in the United States for funding. So I thought you'd all like to know that.
Thank you
That's all
very
I
much.
have, Chairperson.
Seeing no more comments.
Motion to adjourn.
Support center. Support. I already got it.
Can we vote, please?
That's because of you two.
Are we voting?
Yes. I think that was Haw made that motion.
Zinner supported.
didn't
I was before you.
Romano supported.
You
We'll
gotta
let
be
him
quick.
have that.
I'm frozen.
Frozen? Hands vote. Motion to adjourn. All right, done deal.
You beat me on that.